It is after school. The clubs are over for the day and everyone is going home. Everyone but the girls. Alani and Sherry had slipped into the janitor's closet and used a duplication spell on his set of keys. The janitor is an older, forgetful man, so each key is properly labeled, just what the girls need. Earlier that day, they stopped by Lost and Found, which shares a space of security. While the guard went to look for a bracelet Sherry lied that she had lost, the girls jinxed the security system. They had heard the feed goes to the camera and then goes to the guard's own phone. They didn't want to risk someone showing up in the middle of their plan. The guard was a well-mannered but dopey young man who isn't going to notice the inconsistencies of the camera feed. They waited for the street lights to come on. About now, Alani and Sherry would be taking Samson out trick-or-treating, and sometimes they still did. However, it wasn't like Samson didn't have friends. Alani had been calling their parents, believing Samson would have more fun with kids his own age. She understands her father wanting them to bond, because he regrets not being closer to his own siblings. It always feels weird when the time together is forced. Alani and Sherry go to the school kitchen. They open the door to the giant walk-in freezer. They make their way to the backyard of the building, propping open every door and clearing the path. They've been planning this out for a couple weeks now, too nervous to have gone through with it sooner. They make a clean path all the way. They look at each other, neither one speaking. Alani and Sherry make a magic circle on the ground. With the right words, sparking beams of light rocket off into the air and pop open, a dancing array of pure magic fireworks. The two of them take cover a bit into the back hole. The anticipation drips down Sherry's forehead. The fireworks won't just lure the attention of their target, but people from town as well. The biggest concern is that everyone shows up at once. The guards must be watching, for it is only the gormandizing Ghazi who pulls itself over the back fence to the property. He jumps on top of the circle, only to be met with the dim, fading glow of magic. The girls have ended the spell, leaving Ghazi hungry and frustrated. Alani feels Sherry take her hand. Together, they summon a thundercloud, the crackle of lightning having Ghazi turn towards them. A wrenching sensation tears its way through the girls. Even though he has no face, Alani and Sherry realize he's not looking at the cloud like he had last time. He is focused wholly on the two of them. The time to run to the freezer was seconds ago. There are two sets of noises: sneakers running for dear life and the sloshing of snorting death, shrinking the divide. Occasionally, a snarled thud of a body slamming into the lockers echoes out. A check mark for every hallway survived. The chase is almost finished. As Sherry and Alani take a sharp turn into the cafeteria, the fiend tries the same, but his weight skids him into the lunch tables, enraging his limbs to tangle amongst the chairs. The girls have to pause at the kitchen door. When Ghazi sees them standing there, staring, perchance what's left of his senses takes it as ridicule. His second wind finds him and he picks himself out from underneath the wood and metal and continues the chase. As Ghazi rushes into the kitchen, he sees the two of them. Straight ahead, he lunges. Unfortunate for him, his prey dodges and he careens into the thick metal of the freezer door. Dazed, he feels a force relocate him into the freezer. The thundercloud he couldn't be bothered to eat, for better prey was afoot, leaves him stunned on the cold, smooth floor. The darkness of the space sets in. Ghazi regains himself. Sherry was the one who turned the temperature down and broke the emergency control panel in the freezer. Alani had went to the lunchroom and returned with chairs. They sat down near the emergency door. They listened as the monster slamming against the door grows slower and slower. Sherry's idea might actually work. She had guessed with how fluid the fiend moved, freezing him might be an option. Alani, not having an idea of her own yet, agreed to give it a go. They waited for the good portion of a couple hours, long after they stopped hearing any noise. During that time, Alani had slipped off to clean up the place. Her belief that someone would come to check after the fireworks was correct. No one checked inside because all the doors were locked. They must have figured kids jumped the fence, shot up a few fireworks, and ran, bored teenagers on Halloween looking for fun. Sherry peeked in through the small hatch that was built into the door instead of a window. It appears the slime monster had laid to rest and didn't get back up again. Having such a clear view was surreal. The shimmering in the dark of his flesh was more like looking into the night sky. Alani calls for Sherry's attention. It is time to whistle for the witch. Zarifa listens as Sherry beams over her plan working. Zarifa doesn't believe her. She simply can't believe it would be that easy. She tells them to go outside. Sherry can tell something's off with Zarifa. She turns to Alani to back her up. Alani, also noticing Zarifa's demeanor, does confirm Gazee is in the freezer and does appear to be frozen. Sherry notices the way Alani words her sentence. Upset that Zarifa isn't impressed and that Alani seems to be growing skeptical because of Zarifa, Sherry rushes back to the freezer door. Zarifa is right behind Sherry, trying to stop her. Sherry opens the door, just wanting to prove she did something that Alani couldn't. She came up with a plan that worked. Gazee takes the chance to pounce, clearly not frozen. Zarifa blocks the attack, getting harmed in the process. Gazee slams his way out the emergency door, triggering the alarm. The girls had to carry Zarifa from the school all the way back to her home in the junkyard. The way back, though quiet without kids to see them, is still decorated. Jack-o'-lanterns silently laughing at Sherry's failed plan. Faux crows judging her rashness to open the door. And the sheet ghosts whisper, the rustling of the leaves. How could she be so stupid? All of them lamenting. It is still Halloween.